Hello, I'm G.T. Craig, author of The Eternal Child, which is a book filled with words, many words. The reason I mention this obvious point is that a purely written medium does not lend itself well to social media content. Yes, I could do cover reveals and readings from various chapters, and I will be doing these in future, so watch this space. But I need a lot more than that to keep feeding the algorithm. Now, one thing that I thought it would be fun to do was mock up some pictures of my characters using generative AI. Hopefully in the future, people will start generating fan art of how they picture my characters, but I'm a long way from there. Now, for those of you who don't know what generative AI is, it's an online service that generates content for you. From an image generation point of view, it is basically an artificial intelligence that has been shown millions of images along with a description of what it is seeing. It then processes these to somehow connect all the visual elements in the pictures with the meanings of the words in the descriptions. Once it has been trained up this way, an end user, such as myself, can ask it to generate an image by typing in a description of what I would like to generate. So you would type in something like a middle-aged man wearing glasses and a jumper sitting in front of a laptop in a room with a low sloped ceiling. The AI would then interpret your request, compare it against what it understands about the words you have used, and piece together bits from a wide range of images to present you with a set of entirely original images. Are they currently any good at what they do? Well, yes and no. It is very impressive to see what they produce, and, given enough attempts and subtle tweaks to your request, you can usually get something that at least makes a good starting point for your needs. The issue is that the AI does not understand what you are asking for. It does not know how many fingers, hands, legs, noses things have. It just blends many things together depending on how relevant they are to your request. It often produces images with bits missing or too many bits. These are called hallucinations and are one of the best ways to spot if something has been generated by an AI. The question of whether you should use content generated this way is a much wider one and is the premise of this video. I was informed that the writing community frowns on individuals who use AI-generated content. I knew that they would be dead against using AI-generated text, which is made in much the same way, but I wasn't aware that they were against image generation as well. The reason that they are against it is that they stand in solidarity with the artists out there that have created the original images used to train the AIs. In many cases, these artists were not told their artwork was being used as training material. They were not asked for their consent. So the images generated based on their artwork were arguably theft of their intellectual property. They weren't getting paid for it, and they had no control over how their original material was getting used, which is very bad and something I personally am very keen to avoid. Enter Adobe. Adobe has a generative AI known as Firefly. They assured everyone that they were training Firefly on their own large repository of images, along with some others that were in the public domain or free from license restrictions. Now, while there were complaints that they started doing this without properly consulting the artists who had created all of the images in their stock library, they have since set up a compensation scheme. All good. Some would say no. And having considered the matter, this now includes me. Human artists are the true intelligence here. They are coming up with the original ideas and bringing all their talent and experience to create the images in the first place. People are then using generative AI, often for free, to create images that are based on those artworks. Some people then upload these new and original artworks back up to Adobe's stock library, where they compete with the real images. These people, who have just typed some text and pressed a button, are crowding out human artists that are relying on people buying licenses for their work to make a living. In essence, if we remove the human artists from the process by not fairly compensating them for their artworks being used and not commissioning them for original pieces or buying licenses for their work to a point where they stop producing images because it's just not worth their effort and time, we will be left with a limited bank of source material which will just keep feeding back into itself and getting both worse in quality and becoming overused. Also, artists often do what they do for the love of creation, so taking what little money they make away from them is just hurting your fellow human beings in an effort to cut corners and save some money. Now, I'm not saying we should commission a new artwork for each of our social media posts. That would be financially ruining for most people. What I would encourage you to do would be to, for a big promotional campaign or something similar, consider paying for a license from a real human artist. You should be able to check whether the image you are buying has been generated by an AI or not, and go for the ones that will support the real artists out there. Not only are you keeping the system fair and making sure that the money and recognition ends up with the people who have earned it, you will also get a better quality image with the right number of limbs. Also, from what I can tell, AI-generated images do not perform well with the social media algorithms. So do yourself a favour and stay real. Personally, I'm going to be following my own advice and find other means to create my Instagram posts and YouTube thumbnails. Also, speaking of supporting real artists, I saved up a healthy amount of money and commissioned a freelance artist to design me a book cover. In my next video, I'll take you through the steps of how I found the right person, how we agreed the contract details, and how we worked together to make the cover I was looking for. Spoilers, I'm very pleased with the outcome. I'm GT Craig. Let's do this.